Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present Dallas Cowboys Football 2023.
And Prescott walks the dog. Touchdown Cowboys.
In crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Look at this, already less than 3 hours to kickoff. The final regular season kickoff for the 2023 Dallas Cowboys. Feels like a pretty dang good day, Broaddus, to go win a division.
Yeah, it's kind of a hat and T-shirt day.
Hat and T-shirt day.
Hat and T-shirt day. So, yeah, you're playing for the hats and T-shirts. A lot to play for. And I'm going to say it. I'll say it probably a bunch. Your Super Bowl existence depends on you winning a football game today.
Wow.
How about that? How about that?
I like that. I don't think anybody's pushing back on that. Listen, you win today, you get two home playoff games.
The opportunity. Yes. The opportunity.
Sure.
You get the opportunity as the 2 seed to play a couple of if you can win the first one, then you get a chance to play a second one. And then depending on what else happens, you never know. You might get the third one if some things fall right for you. But you have to be the second seed in order to make yourself get those home playoff games. And so that's why I feel like today is the most important game you'll play all season. Is when you talking about the season, for you to have a chance to play at home where you've won 16 straight games. That's not by accident. That is. You're a much better team playing at home than you are on the road, and teams who play you know that. So yeah, this is a huge game for the Dallas Cowboys. I would not want to be anybody on that staff if they don't win this game today. I feel like that if you lose this game today, yeah, you're in the playoffs, but I would not want to have to face Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, if you in fact go out there and flop around and don't play well and lose this football game.
Yeah, it'd be an all-time flight home. Nightmare flight home.
Yeah, and Jerry and Steven fly on their own plane, to the games. So I could see somebody on that coaching staff maybe having to fly back with them, have this discussion for that 2.5 hour, 3 hour flight. But let's not focus on losing a football game today.
No, that's a good point.
Let's focus on trying to win. But yeah,
let's go get those hats. Let's go get those T-shirts, man.
Absolutely,
100%. And we've seen it firsthand here over the last couple of months. Championships can be won, even when you think you're down.
Yeah,
championships can be won.
Yeah.
So this is beautiful. A month ago, I don't know how many people considered even much of a chance to win the division, and that's there for you today. You talk about it being the most important must-win. If you want to win the Super Bowl, get home field advantage, you got to win today.
Yeah.
Well, thank God you're in Washington playing the broken Commanders.
Yeah, and it's really unusual for the Commanders in a bad way. And I've been where the Commanders are in my professional life with a football team. When you're trying to play it, you get now you want to win one last time. You'd like to win one last time, but you're probably not going to win. And now there's going to be changes in the front office. There's going to be changes in the coaching staff. You have new ownership. There's a lot of things. The owners have had a year now to evaluate the operation. And even listening to Ron Rivera talk the other day, he was pretty much resigned to the fact that he's not going to be here anymore. And he was talking about, hey, the last 5 weeks has been fun for me, been able to coach again, to be the defensive coordinator. So, this could be Ron Rivera's last coaching job. Ron Rivera, could be in a situation where, he's to the point where he's had a couple of cracks at this as a head coach. He's had some success along the way, but not nearly enough success. They're going to make changes tomorrow, and it'll be a general manager, it'll be a head coach. But you do not want to go. If you're the Commanders, you want to play at a high level, but will the circumstance allow them to do that? And all indications are it's a difficult situation. Half those guys want to try and win. The other half are trying to prevent from getting injured. Coaches have already been on the phone over the last month trying to run up jobs, see what jobs could be open. You're kind of thinking about your family having to move and all that. This is a very, very, very difficult time for the Commanders to play this football game.
Which is perfect for the Cowboys to take them on in the most important game of the season right here, clinch the division and clinch one and hopefully more than that, two. And then you'll see where it falls, man. Who knows? I mean, when you're the 2 seed, let the Niners get bounced to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden now, boom. Who's the Mac Daddy around here? Yeah, you got to come to AT&T Stadium for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to like. This is going to be a ton of fun. Hopefully, I mean, from the type of game that you imagine, what is this a scrape by situation, or do you feel like the opportunity to blow the doors off them? I mean, it's Cowboys on the road is always just a little bit wonky.
You never know with the Cowboys, especially as you mentioned, Cowboys on the road. That hasn't been something other than the last Cowboy victory on the road we could talk about was against Carolina, maybe a very similar team to what you're dealing with today. When you start to talk about good in some areas, talented in others, not good enough in others. The Commanders secondary is in a bad spot right now. And if Dallas is able to, to take advantage of that, they have to take advantage of Jonathan Allen not playing today.
That's huge.
They ran the ball, I think, fairly well against the Commanders last time they played. A lot of weak side runs, toss, perimeter plays, crack toss. They just need to make sure, as Nate Newt would say, make sure it's just by 1 today. If it doesn't matter if it's by 1 or 100. Just make sure that you're on the good side of that.
Well, if the secondary is banged up, should be another great opportunity for Dak and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb breaking records. Last time we saw him on the football field, we will hear from CD with today's player profile coming up here in just a bit on the official pregame show of America's Team. About to go behind enemy lines with Julie Donaldson live from FedEx Field. She's part of the Washington play-by-play team. And Cowboys Nation come out early to the Miller Lite House, the pregame gathering destination on the West Plaza of the stadium. We'll get some playoff football at AT&T Stadium. We will see you on the Miller Lite West Plaza. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys, and we invite all Cowboys fans to join us for a great tailgate event. Sample some great seltzer brands as well, like Vizzy Hard Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the Cowboys. And we will get you to FedEx Field with Julie Donaldson coming up here shortly. But Broaddus, I am curious just how you're feeling in terms of all the payoffs that we had to do on Friday in the G-Bag Nation, plus how you're feeling about your Survivor pick for this week.
Yeah.
And that lip, I'm still seeing some rash remnants thanks to the wasabi mustache.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit right now, but going to play in a little pain today. I do like my pick because of, it is Dallas. I've saved the Cowboys till the very end here in a must-win situation. So, it's perfect for me to pick the Cowboys today. I do feel like the Cowboys are the better team. A lot more to play for. Now, they've got to go prove me right. They've got to go prove me that they're willing to go out there and put it all on the line and find a way to walk off that field with a victory. It's just, these are the types of games, though, Eric, that make me nervous. There's so much to play for here, but you just don't know the situation with the other team. That's the thing about it. And Dallas has found a way at times to not play very well on the road, as we all know, but they'll make these huge mistakes.
Right.
You get untimely penalties. You clock management stuff.
So much self-inflicted.
Yeah, a lot of self-inflicted stuff. And you just do not want to give the Commanders any reason to hang around in this game. That's the bottom line. Do whatever you have to do to destroy their will to compete, to get it on the right off the jump. You need to find a way to do that.
Yeah, you wonder how galvanized a team like this is right now, playing spoiler, knowing, versus a division opponent in the Cowboys. Hey, guys, we can make the Cowboys have a much tougher playoff run if we go out there and give it our best today. Hey, it's our coach's final day as our head coach, and Ron Rivera is a 500 coach.
Yeah,
he's either going to finish his tenure as the Commanders' head coach all time as either one game above 500 or one game under 500. I don't know how much the players really know or care about that, but I think it's a weather game too. Road weather games, windy.
No, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful day. I saw reports from Ed Werder. The field was covered. No wind,
no
cold,
precipitation,
nothing, man. I thought
we were getting windy conditions today.
After what we saw at the Ravens, only about 35 miles away from last night. No, this thing broke beautifully for the Cowboys.
Wow. Okay. Well, then that's an early victory before the big one, which is of course just getting the hay in the barn and coming away with, like Nate Newton says, just one point.
Yeah,
that's all it takes. And I know Jimmy Johnson. There was a story that Nate Newton had about Jimmy. Yeah. Where they had a situation like this, hey, just go win
against
the football
Green Bay,
game.
1991. Yep, that's the way it was. So, yeah, it's one of those things that you just got to find a way.
All right, let's go out to FedEx Field right now and welcome in Julie Donaldson as we go behind enemy lines here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Julie, happy game day to you. I guess we avoided some insane weather today. That's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, we were just saying if today was yesterday, it would have been freezing cold rain the whole way through. We all would have been miserable, but the sun is out. It's beautiful. I think the one challenge is it's a little windy. That's going to make it a little bit colder than you probably think that it would be, but we're in the upper 40s, lower 50s, so it's an absolute gorgeous day here now. I know there's a lot of talk about what the weather could have been coming into this one and how that may factor in. Yeah, it says it's 48 degrees, so should be a good day for some football.
That is good. We're in here trying to figure out how galvanized this bunch is here with the Commanders going to win one for their head coach and trying to play spoiler.
Well, they did it last year. A little bit more on the line for you guys this time around. Sam Howell was talking about how last year, being a little reflective, he came in, that was his first start in the NFL, and the stage wasn't necessarily too big for him. He just came in and performed. And, of course, the way this season has gone now, he's teetered off as of late. And we're kind of wondering, is this the kind of quarterback that he is, still knowing a lot of growth needs to happen for him to really be successful. Washington could play spoiler, but, we have so many players out to injury, so many guys that aren't going to be out active there. They're bringing in, a lot of players, especially on defense, that are just learning the system here in Week 18. So if the Cowboys, I know you guys aren't the best on the road, but even if you're halfway decent, this should be relatively an easier day for you.
Julie, it just seems like, though, the Commanders in the secondary just got really banged up at the worst possible time. And then Jonathan Allen being out really hurts. But can you kind of talk about, you mentioned a lot of new players coming in and all that. That's the unfortunate thing for you guys having to play this game with so many new players and guys you really haven't counted on this season.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the youth. Head coach Ron Rivera keeps talking about Quan Martin and the role that he's had to take on lately because, you don't have Kendall Fuller. He's not playing. You don't have Christian Holmes. You don't have Tariq Castro-Fields, and Holmes and Castro-Fields were young guys that you wanted to be able to see a little bit more of. Quan's going to have to be playing multiple positions. I actually talked to him coming into this game. He's playing a position he's never even played before out there in the secondary just because it's out of need. You're going to see possibly Josh Pryor, on the defensive line because Jonathan Allen's not going. It's just they're so banged up. Even on the line, the defensive line, which was the strength of this team starting the season, the secondary, I'm not even sure what to expect or what to anticipate from this. But we know last time we saw Dak, he threw 4 touchdown passes on us. And this team, I think they need to really simplify it because after that game is why they decided to get rid of defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio. And especially when you do have new names coming in and players that haven't seen as much time or as many snaps on the field as we're going to get today. And just really kind of see how they can try to communicate to try to keep the game within reach and not kind of out of control.
Could we see something, Julie, different from what the Commanders have done? I mean, it's a very pass-heavy team. Dallas a little susceptible to the run. Any change going into Week 17 with that? Is that the best path to maybe keep the game in hand for the Commanders?
Well, I did talk to Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson coming into this game, and both of them were hoping that would be the case.
Right.
And they say that every single week is that they want to be able to run the ball. Of course, the O-line will often joke a lot like, oh, yeah, that game was a lot of fun. We threw, 70 passes in the game.
Yeah.
The O-line wants to be able to, have that option to be able to help push the line. And when they do run, they've found a good amount of success with it. It's just staying with it. They say that they find themselves behind very often, and that results to a lot of passing. Does that help? I think that's the big question mark. Does that really help Sam's growth, or does it hinder him? Because they are relying on him to try to do so much. And if you run the ball, you feel like you're helping him out just a little bit more in what he needs to process and put these players in a situation to be able, to be successful. And a lot of that is Eric Bieniemy trying to figure out what is the best play calling. And of course, it is a very pass-happy offense that he's trying to put in place here. And today, we'll see if they can. But yeah, we've had some success running the ball, and we know that the Cowboys will give you just a little bit of room on the ground. How much of that is, as your guess is probably going to be as good as mine.
Sure.
But if any indication on how the season has gone, maybe a little, but those still rely a lot on the pass.
Behind enemy lines with Julie Donaldson of the Washington play-by-play team, getting you set for Cowboys Commanders here. How many would you say cornerstone players does this Commanders team have when you start thinking about moving forward, like legit cornerstone studs?
Yeah, you mentioned Jonathan Allen, and he's from this area. He's one of their team captains. He's not playing today because he has a knee injury. And you have him and Deron Payne right there in the D-line, the interior guys that are just really rock solid for this team and look to be leaders. And Deron still has another level to go to this season. It's been hard once they've lost some of the players on the edges and Chase and Montez being traded away. They get doubled a lot, focus in on them, and people realize if you stop those two, they can't get anywhere else with the backups that we have coming in on the edges out there. So I would think John and Deron, although John's been very vocal in how he's frustrated, he doesn't want to go through another rebuild. So it's going to be an interesting offseason to kind of see how he and his agent and whoever comes in tries to play that with him. Terry McLaurin, of course, is somebody on offense that you just love the kind of guy that he is in the locker room, the way that he approaches the game, how he works so hard for everything. But he's been incredibly frustrated and even said before, like he hasn't used his voice the way that he probably could in voicing the frustrations that he's had. But he's somebody most certainly you can really build around and enjoy. Otherwise on offense, AG is going to be a free agent. He wants to go and be at a place where he feels like he's going to be best utilized in a pass-happy game. That's not necessarily where he wants to be at the moment. That could really change as we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with the anticipated coaching changes and just how much and how many moves this new ownership does decide to have. And the offensive line, I don't really know that there's somebody on this team that you really build around. Sam Cosmi, I think he's been their most solid offensive lineman, coming in here. But I could see them making a lot of changes. So I didn't give you a ton of names, and that's probably why this team only has 4 wins.
Now, in terms of like pulse of the fan base, any feeling on, everybody seems to want Coach X? Like I'm seeing Belichick's name thrown around a ton.
And I don't feel like this fan base is really, from what I've heard, and from what I'm feeling, feels that a Belichick would be the answer. I do believe everybody says, okay, until the word actually comes, we don't know, but by all means, Ron hasn't done the job here that he was brought in to do. 4 wins would indicate that. And I think no matter what, you have to make that change in order to show this fan base that you're serious about trying to get to where you are a perennial team in the postseason, and you're expected to be there, and the culture is that expectation of winning. And that's one of the things when I asked Ron, what is he most proud of? And he says the culture. And then you talk to a lot of the players on, what is the biggest thing that they want to change, and they'll mention that the culture, because it's not a winning culture, and they've just gotten into this role where they kind of accept a ho-hum, go out kind of flat and just get through the game kind of mentality. And that's not what this fan base wants. So I don't know who those moves are for Josh Harris and the other owners, but they are coming.
Well, and I ask you this, Julie, and I hate to even, we need talking about the game and stuff like that, but if the Commanders, would it be a general manager and a coach, or how do they play? It seemed like to me that Ron really was the coach and the general manager there.
Yeah, and that was what lured him here.
Right.
And what he really loved when he came here is that he had total control over all the personnel decisions, over the roster, over his staff, over the coaching as well. And then, just a few days ago, he said hindsight, it was too much. And it took the managing. He spent more time managing, less time coaching. And this season, folks could kind of feel him really being pulled further away from the actual hands-on coaching that he says he loves more than anything. But he also says, look, Josh Harris wants to make it very distinct, that it's 2 different roles.
Right.
There will be a general manager. There will be somebody that is their job, and then the coach will take care of what happens on the field from that. So that's very clear. on that's what we feel that Josh Harris and again the ownership group wants to go. Now, ideally, if that's the case, then you got to hire GM first. Mm-hmm. And, what of the personnel side on the coaching staff moves do they make there? Because you can't just get rid of really everybody and think that you can go into free agency and draft with, your staff not in place. So I think that'll be more of an interesting thing to kind of watch of what moves on that side with the GM, with the personnel, do they make as well before they go get their coach. But it's we're all bracing for what's going to be a very difficult day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Probably the end of the day today, and a lot of moves going forward. This fan base is tired of the losing seasons. They have an expectation of winning Super Bowls, and that's the reason why you do have new ownership, as that wasn't done under the previous one for many, many reasons. And they're excited for the new ownership, and now Josh Harris and others have their work cut out for them.
Well, Julie, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much. It's always a real treat. Enjoy the game, and hopefully we'll bump into you out in Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, wish you guys the best of luck. And we'll see how today plays. I'll just try to go a little bit easy on us,
Now you go easy on us.
Come on.
We got those hats and T-shirts in that locker room, Julie. Come on now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. We'll see. We'll make sure whoever's here tries to snag you one. Okay?
There you go. Thanks. Appreciate that, Julie.
There she goes, Julie Donaldson, as we go behind enemy lines on the official pregame show of America's team. For the final time in the regular season, ladies and gentlemen, we get you set for Cowboys and Commanders. Let's go around the NFL, give you some score updates and the player profile. The record-setting wide receiver, 88, CeeDee Lamb joins Chris Arnold for the player profile next right here on The Fan.
Go behind the scenes at the home of the Dallas Cowboys with AT&T Stadium Tours presented by SeatGeek. See what makes AT&T.
win the division, you win the game, you win the division. Home game, AT&T Stadium playoffs, that's beautiful. Let's hear from CeeDee Lamb, today's player profile. Then we'll go around the NFL, give you some updates on the games that are taking place right now. A lot on the line for so many teams, and we'll give you some updates. It's pretty hilarious to see some of these teams with so much on the line. They come around there, and all of a sudden you're going to let the Titans do something to you, Jacksonville. Mike Vrabel doesn't want to lose, though. He doesn't want to lose. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the situation is for Mike Vrabel. He does not want to lose. He's much like Dan Campbell last year.
Sure.
Final game of the season. Let's go play spoiler to a division rival. You might have that with Tennessee versus the Jaguars. We'll give you some updates here in just a few minutes. We'll get you to Babe Laufenberg before the end of the hour. But let's go ahead and hear from CeeDee Lamb, today's player profile.
CeeDee Lamb, it's the last game of the regular season, a long season, and you guys control your destiny. How you feel?
Feel amazing, man. I love obviously having the ability to control what we can, and everything that we've worked for is still in front of us. So, amazing feeling.
All right, you've had all kind of accolades this season. In fact, the respect factor is through the roof. People are now not even doubting you. They shouldn't have been doubting you in the first place. But it's like, oh yeah, he's one of the best receivers in the league. Mm-hmm. You've always said you don't really care about those things. You want to win. Can you talk about both though? Because I know the winning is the ultimate goal.
Right. Just being the best version of myself. You know, I've worked real hard, you know, personally to get on this type of level and to showcase my ability. So having that ability right now, it's a real feeling. Obviously, I'm grateful for it. Shout out to my teammates. Without them, none of this would be possible. And then, you know, getting a win, just like the cherry on top. You know, it's the best feeling ever. It's the feeling of fulfillment or conquer, of triumph. I feel like it's a bit obsessive. So, and yeah, I'm obsessed with it. So, yeah, it goes hand in hand in my mind, and I wouldn't want it no other way.
You broke Michael Irvin's records. He said you could probably be the best 88 ever. How does that make you feel?
Shout out to Mike for that. That's huge. You know, very flattering. And obviously, you know, I got to go out there and do it. But I appreciate him having that type of confidence in myself, and yeah, I'm definitely holding it down for the guys. You
know how the season kind of is this long season and you just have ups and downs and twists and turns. When did you find out that Philadelphia had lost, and what was your reaction?
I was actually watching the game because, you know, my boy Kyler plays.
That's right. And
Marquise.
That's right.
So I was watching them boys and seeing how they were doing. And I turn it on and I just see K1 make a nice play. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I need y'all boys to pull this off for us.
Right. Now you got Washington. Last year, they did something crazy and won the game. This year, I mean, y'all don't take anything for granted, right? Not today.
Not at all. This is not last year, and we don't need history to repeat itself. So this is the first step of changing our course and our trajectory of who we were last year. And we're definitely a better team, and the only way we can show that is on Sunday.
Good look out, and congratulations, man.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, CeeDee Lamb. Thank you to the 1, 2, 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold as well. Today's player profile brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Hello, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
With how bad the regular season ended last year in Washington, Broaddus, you got to think that helps a little bit, right? Like you hear him bring that up from last year.
Yeah.
Like there's a little something there that you can point back to and be like, hey, let's not let this happen again.
Well, it was also Sam Howell's first start, you know, and that there was some kind of like momentum, you know, that maybe the Commanders, you know, I mean, they're in a bad situation right now. They all know that they're about to get, you know, let go. The roster's not going to be the same. New general manager, new head coach, new coaching staff. There's a lot going on there that wasn't going on this time. And the Cowboys, you know, the Cowboys weren't playing for the division title like they are today. You know, and I think that's the one thing that is completely different from this time from last year to today is that the fact that Dallas knows that, as I've said, I believe that their Super Bowl existence is in their hands today. You know, they have to find a way to win this game. They are a completely different team at home than they are on the road. 16 straight. That's all the evidence you need right there for your team if you're the Dallas Cowboys. You do not need to go on the road and try and play playoff games. You need as many home playoff games. And heck, you never know what could happen to San Francisco as the top seed. You just don't know how this is going to play out. But if you want to have an opportunity to go to Las Vegas this year, you have to win this game today.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. CeeDee Lamb certainly understands that. Hearing from him was super nice off his record-setting performance. Just a monster game last week. It's been an amazing season. How does this play out in terms of the upcoming contract and everything with CeeDee Lamb? Is that something that you think because he's now played himself into, I could command top money.
We asked Stephen Jones about that on Friday, basically about, it's easier for him to pay these players when there's some justification. CeeDee Lamb has gotten better every year that he's played in the NFL. He's just improved every year to the point where, again, he talked about, Chris asked about Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin says he's the best 88 because the fact he can play inside, he can play outside, his ability to make plays in both spots. So, this is one of those no-brainers for Stephen Jones. It's just a matter of how to structure it and where that dollar amount's going to be.
In terms of the versatility, is this a game where you can use the versatility any way you like it with CeeDee Lamb? Put him in the slot, put him on the outside, let him just go dominate anybody?
I think the Commanders are in real trouble when it comes to playing pass defense today. They're particularly not very good at linebacker. They're not very good right now at safety. Dallas took way advantage of them last time that they met. They caught them in some unique matchups, which really, really hurt the Commanders. I could see a very similar type of game plan today.
What do you want to see from Ferguson? Could he wake up again? I mean, what are defenses doing now to him? Because he's been slowed down.
They're treating him like
lately.
a wide receiver. They're starting to put, we're starting to see guys like Brian Branch and others, some of your better cover guys, some of your better corners are starting to have to take Ferguson. And so they're okay with allowing maybe CeeDee Lamb to make a play or two and try and cover him a particular way. But they know in certain down and distance situations that Dak likes to go to Jake Ferguson. And so they're taking their nickel and putting him over the top of Ferguson. So he's going to start seeing that a lot more.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, and kudos to him and kudos to the Cowboys for, the way they've utilized him and making defenses have to account for him.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, all right, if you want to start treating him that way, well, now all of a sudden you're using one of your better cover guys on my tight end, and CeeDee Lamb's going for 200-plus yards versus the Lions.
Right.
That's how that sort of plays out. So now Tyler Smith not going to play?
No, he is not going to play.
I just saw Zach Martin dealing with a bit of an illness, but he is expected to play.
Yeah, the only real issues that they were worried about was the Tyler Smith one. He's just not ready to go right now. He's just
totally understandable. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
So it'll be TJ Bass?
TJ Bass at the guard spot, yeah.
Okay, very good. 877-881-1053. What's on your tailgate menu for the final time in the regular season? Because I do need to let you know, Papa John's always bringing it strong. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, and we'll actually hear from Zach Martin coming up a little bit later on in the show. He joined us on Thursday. For the final time this season. It's been great getting to know him.
Yes.
The personality has come out in a way that we really haven't seen throughout his career. He gave us the one single redeeming quality of FedEx Field. And we know FedEx Field, that's all. I mean, you got to squint to see anything that you like there.
Yeah.
But he gave us the one redeeming quality, and I look forward to hearing from Zach Martin a little bit later on in the program.
I that's a great tease. I'm not gonna spoil that one for you because it was a very good answer.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now you got the Cowboys.
He's
in
not
Survivor.
wrong. He's not wrong, by the way.
You can confirm.
I could confirm that. Yes.
And you can also confirm it is the one and only, the singular redeeming quality.
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at the 940 doing some Chinese food for today's game. I really like that.
What
940. It looks like they're going Panda Express.
Oh, they're not making their own fried rice or something like that?
No, they're not going
I've done home egg rolls myself.
They're not doing the Broaddus special of trying something crazy in the kitchen.
Yeah, okay.
Because not everybody's got that skill set, dude.
Hey, give it a go. Cooking's not that hard.
817 smoked burnt ends.
There you go.
That's
all
not
about
bad.
that. Yeah. Friends at Heim Barbecue, I was watching their video about they were doing bacon burn ends is what they were doing, man. Those things you talk about like candy. like meat candy. That's what that stuff is.
So good.
Yeah.
It really is. It's fantastic. All the barbecue going down.
Yeah.
I imagine Mike
Pretty
and Tato
day.
Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty-
beautiful day. That's true.
a
It's a day to
beautiful
get out on the
yeah.
grill.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Hey, trust me. I mean, it's throw on your hoodie, go out there and cook on your grill, man. You got a flat top. The Chinese. If you have a flat top, the Chinese food would have been good to do on the flat top. Like I say, fried rice is really excellent on a flat top.
See, and these are the things that you learn. I'm not super familiar.
You know what a flat top is?
Well, I know what the flat top is,
Yeah.
but when it comes to making the fried rice, in terms of strategically how to go about
Not
it
that
there.
hard.
But
Not
I know
that
that
hard.
you were mentioning you wanted to do it this previous weekend. You didn't get the chance.
Yeah, I know. I was going to do it after I had some leftovers from the gumbo that we made. So I had some rice. I let it sit, let it dry out a little bit. And if you do that, then you can make some really good fried rice. You need to make sure the rice is dried out to make good fried rice.
Homemade chili with Fritos 214. Love it. This
Yeah.
is definitely it's chili season. Has been for a while.
Frito pie sounding like right there.
Capitalize on that Tovash in the 817, red beans and rice,
There he
and
goes.
some fried catfish.
Oh, he must have caught the catfish too. Tovash will catch his own fish.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh yeah, he's a fisherman. He really is.
We got the 3-2-1. Just ate a pineapple in preparation for the game. So I guess that's probably good. Is that a good thing to like put in the stomach before you consume a bunch of beer? Maybe
I don't know.
Like lemon in the water.
I think a
Just kinda
pineapple
like prep the stomach for the debauchery.
I think a pineapple would be an appropriate drink or an appropriate thing to consume if it's coming out of a drink. You know what I'm saying? If you're drinking like a Mai Tai or something like that, or it's one of these island drinks. If you're consuming the pineapple after you're drinking the drink, I approve of what you've done, ma'am or sir.
All right, we're just over 2 hours to kick off. Let's see what Babe Laufenberg's drinking next right here on The Fan.
It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans.
2023 season. Cowboys and Commanders. It's the official pregame party. He's Bryan Broaddus. I'm Eric Chiofalo. Let's welcome in Babe Laufenberg live from FedEx Field. Babe, happy game day. Is this from your experience, Babe, is this for the Commanders, a mail-it-in Sunday? You look forward to hopping on a bird tomorrow and going somewhere warm?
You know, you say that, and every year you see a team that isn't supposed to beat somebody on the last game of the season because they have nothing to play for, and the other team does beat the other team, right? We saw it last year with Detroit beating Green Bay to keep them out of the playoffs when Detroit, could not make the playoffs. But the mail-it-in thing or the tanking, to get that 2 seed is interesting for me from the standpoint that this team's been tanking for like the last 8 weeks. They've lost 7 in a row. They haven't won a home game since the opener. They've allowed 27 points or more in each of the last 7 games, which, by the way, is a franchise record.
Hey, there you go.
Dubious one, but it is a franchise record.
You make history, man.
Oh, yeah. They've been outscored by 120 points in this game. They were down 17-0 2 weeks ago to the New York Jets 6 minutes into the football game. So if they come out and play poorly, I don't want to hear anyone say, oh, well, Washington was tanking. No, they're terrible, they're beat up, and they're not going to be good today.
So, Babe, okay, if you're the Cowboys, what do you then – is there anything you worry about, though, into this – and I know they play games, but is there anything that you're concerned about? If you said, listen, if the Commanders have any chance today, it's going to be because of this.
Yeah, only turnovers. We know they play a factor in every game, but
sure.
I really think the Cowboys could end up -3 at the end of the day, which I don't think they'll be. But they could be -3, and they'll still beat Washington. So provided they don't have some crazy, 5-6 turnover games. I'm in our booth, and it's right in front of us is where Brian Anger dropped the punt last year, or the snap on the punt.
Yeah.
So, if stuff like that happens, something could happen, but I really don't see any way that Washington beats them. They brought a whole bunch of guys up from the practice squad. Their secondary, Washington's, has been totally decimated, and they weren't very good to start with. So I always talk myself into a way, guys, that this team can beat that team in the NFL.
Sure.
I don't say, hey, McNeese State has a shot at Alabama, but I do say Arizona has a chance to beat Philly, which they did last week. But in this one, I just cannot figure out a way to talk myself into Washington beating this Cowboys team today.
Well, I certainly understand that, and the Cowboys looking to win the division with today's victory. It's been quite the season, a long season. How do you stack this Cowboys team up? What do you think of this team, knowing everything about them that you do, as we are just a few hours away from hopefully a home playoff game?
Yeah, I think they can play with anyone. Obviously, if they get there, San Francisco has been problematic for them. We know that, but there's no one that scares me, and I don't think there's any team that the Cowboys can't beat. Now, they're going to have to play well, but there's no team out there that they can't beat. And it's funny. Hey, you guys know it's a long 17-game season, and there's all sorts of ebbs and flows. And San Francisco looked like no one would beat them after they crushed the Cowboys, right? And then 3 teams beat them in successive weeks. Philly was 10-1. They were 10-1, and now they're playing some bad football. It's funny, I was in the hotel room this morning. I got on one of the pregame shows, and 2 weeks ago, which is why I don't pay a lot of attention to this, 2 weeks ago, Philadelphia had a 91% chance to win the division. And here we are today, and they almost have no shot to win the division. They've got a mathematical probability to win it, but that's why, I never get too carried away in week 7 or week 10 or even week 14. So here we are, week 17. Cowboys win. They're the 2 seed. They will get the opportunity to host 2 playoff games. And, hey, possibly 3. Nothing says somebody doesn't go out to San Francisco in that divisional round and beat them out there. And then suddenly you're looking at the NFC Championship game at home. It's happened before for that Cowboys team of the 90s.
Oh, gosh. Keep dirty talking me, babe.
Hey.
Was that like R-rated and I didn't even know it?
That was one of the most.
Was that pillow talk?
That was pillow talk. That's the best pillow talk I've ever experienced, babe. My gosh,
That's
sounds delightful.
That's great.
Babe, I hate to say this, but as I'm looking at the screen right now, it looks like Sam Laporta has a knee injury. for the Detroit Lions. And he is walking very gingerly off this field. Boy, that would be a tough one for the Lions. Hopefully he's okay. I do want to ask you this, though. With the Cowboys today, they had success running the ball last time against the Commanders. Is it one of those games where you just say, okay, we're going to load up and try? I know the secondary is banged up, beat up, and all that. But do you try a little bit of that today just to kind of show some balance here?
Well, it's a good question, and it'll be answered probably in the first couple series. But I see Washington playing a lot of two deep with their safeties, playing four cross, keeping the big plays at a minimum. They've got a crazy young secondary. They're starting their first rounder, I believe, today, Emmanuel Forbes, who was benched and hasn't been great. And so they're going to give these guys help. They're not going to leave those corners out there man-to-man like Detroit did, right? Try to come after. I don't see that happening. So when those safeties are back, as we well know, that's time you want to run the football. So in answer to your question, I can see the Cowboys having success today running the ball. And again, Jonathan Allen, their Pro Bowl defensive tackle, he's out today. So to me, the game kind of begs for the Cowboys to run it a little, even though, as we all know, the passing game is where they excel, not the running game.
Right. But, Babe, can I ask you this then? Does this team in the playoffs then, the run is just something you think about? The pass, it's going to be about Dak, Lamb, Ferguson. That's going to be your path to victory in the playoffs then, right? Is that kind of how you're feeling about this team?
I agree. Yeah, we're 16 games into the season. Obviously, today will be 17. Suddenly not going to generate a running game by what happens today. So I think they're going to be a team where you're going to throw the ball and you're going to run it just enough to keep the other team honest. You're not a good running team for whatever reason. I don't know. Scheme, runners, blockers. You've shown you're not a good running football team. You've shown you're an outstanding passing team with a quarterback that is taking care of the football. So I see them running just enough when those playoffs come around to keep teams honest. But if they want to move the football, they're going to do it through the passing game.
Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. You've been out there for the last 24 hours or so, Babe. You're doing pregame shows. I know you got plenty of connections with these Commanders. What do you think they got cooking in terms of, a lot of change, I imagine, here over the next, 24 hours?
Yeah. And it's interesting because last year the Cowboys were up here, obviously, playing the last game of the season. The end of that game, they fired their offensive coordinator, Scott Turner. Cowboys played Washington on Thanksgiving. Next day, they fired their defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio. And now we've got the Cowboys playing the final game of the season this year. And I don't think there's any doubt that Ron Rivera will not have a job by the time this game ends, at least not as the head coach of the Washington Commanders.
No question about that. Now, when you get back out over to that neck of the woods, is there a place you got to eat? Is there a person you got to see? Or do you just do your usual thing, Babe, which I know it's just go get to the hotel room as quickly as possible and close the blinds, turn some football on, kick the feet up, and enjoy yourself?
Well, you forgot one aspect, Eric, and I will send you a photo from last night, but I always get in and I hit the fitness room, get on the elliptical.
That's right.
Watch whatever game's on, which obviously last night was Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I come back to the room, I watch the game, I finish up all my notes, look at a little tape. I never leave the hotel, I guess what I'm saying. I'm old and I'm boring. Now, Eric, if you had asked me 30 years ago what you did, now we're getting into the R-rated stuff that you seem to enjoy so much.
Hey, Cowboy home NFC Championship game. I'm sorry, Babe, but that's the height of pleasure for me, okay? That's the height of pleasure for me.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, it's interesting, too, very quickly. Last week, San Francisco came in here to FedEx Field, and they then celebrated a win and getting the number one seed in that visiting locker room. And today, it appears, the Cowboys will come out. They'll celebrate a win in the visiting locker room by locking down that number 2 seed. So the visiting locker room has been very festive, or will be very festive here over the last couple of weeks.
That's right. It's a place for winners, and it's a place for the Dallas Cowboys today. That's beautiful. Babe, we appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy this one.
Okay, thank you, guys. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg, right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan, the official pregame party. I'll tell you what, I think the final week of the regular season. You know, we're all just sort of we're lost in the sauce throughout the football season. We forget how quick it goes. And then all of a sudden you arrive at the final regular season game of the season and you feel like, man, I need to go all out here. And that's why I feel like the Tolos are when it comes to the tailgate menu. You know, usually there's 5 or 6 strong, hey, this is what I'm going for. This is what I'm feeling good about. Mike and Caddo Mills has probably been the MVP of the season from a tailgate standpoint. You would agree with that.
Sure.
But today, I mean, it's absolutely on fire. And when it comes to the chili, I mean, we got a homemade chili with beans, with like a white bean, I think is white bean chili of sorts.
Okay.
We got a venison chili.
There you go.
I mean, and the deer right now, that's perfect. If you got a deer chili going on, that's a tailgate you want to be at.
Yeah.
You have live from FedEx Field, listening on the Odyssey app, hammering home some Italian cold cuts, getting set for kickoff.
There you go. It's a pretty day to be in the parking lot. I'm sure maybe a little wind. You have to. We'll talk with Scoop, and she'll tell us what's going on with the field conditions. But yeah, if you're hanging out there in enemy territory, I'm sure there's a lot of Cowboy fans out there enjoying the tailgating with you, because my experience of going to that place, the Cowboy fans always showed up. Oh, by the way, Sam Laporta getting carted off now to the locker room for the Lions. Boy, that is a terrible, terrible sight if you're a Lions fan.
Exactly what you don't want to see for anybody, but especially if you're a Detroit Lions fan. The rookie tight end who's been one of the best in all of football this year.
10 touchdowns this year.
Grabbing his knee a few minutes ago, now being carted off. That's heartbreaking for the Lions. We'll keep you posted on that. We'll give you some score updates, and we'll go back out to FedEx Field inside the Star with our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt next right here on The Fan.
Attention, attention. I'm calling on the
counselors. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's Feed Your Wild Side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Let's go live to FedEx Field, shall we? Under 2 hours to kick off for the final regular season matchup of the season for the Cowboys and Commanders. Let's go get these hats, these T-shirts, and this NFC East division title. Lock in that 2 seed and play at AT&T Stadium, the comfy confines that this Cowboys team loves so much. And I know another guy who loves the comfy confines of AT&T Stadium so much. His name is Bobby Belt. He's our Cowboys insider. Let's go inside the Star while we're at FedEx Field. Have you found a redeeming quality, Bob, in your time at FedEx Field? This is, I imagine, your third or fourth visit. Maybe it's just your second.
Yeah, I actually think that there's a bit of an unfair bad rap for this place. Like, I mean, it's not the best spot by far, but this whole, like, yeah, it's 33 out of 32 discussion that exists. I don't understand that at all, because I will take this place 100 times out of 100 over Jacksonville, which is by far the worst road city that I've been to from a press box and city and everything else perspective. Like, I actually, as long as you don't have one of the metal posts in your face, I think the press box view is kind of good. Yeah. Not necessarily the radio booth. Radio booth, they're in a tough spot today. This is like a closet that I'm sitting in. But the actual press box is, I kind of like the angle. And the stadium itself is not as rundown, I don't think, as Jacksonville. And the city doesn't smell like creek water like all of Jacksonville does. So I actually think that Washington, the food's better. Like, everything's much better here than Jacksonville. So I don't understand why it gets the bad rap that it does.
All right, okay, let me ask you this.
You don't understand. You've seen that stadium urinate on its customers for half a decade now. What are you talking about? You don't understand.
If I was one of the fans out here getting plumbed on, then yes, I would understand the plumbing issues and everything else. But I'm just saying, from my perspective, having gone here twice, it's better than Jacksonville.
I was going to ask you, though, Bobby, is it still the end zone view? Are you still sitting in the end zone?
Yes, it is. It's that little, it's caddy corner, and it's like level. It's the second level, basically. I just like the lower level view.
So Brad and Babe are going to be calling the game with an end zone view, right? Is that how this kind of works?
Yeah. They're kind of like in the corner of one of the end zones. So, I mean,
kind of difficult.
If they throw a back shoulder fade to CD in this end zone, Brad and Babe are going to have the best seat in the house.
Absolutely. All right, speaking of best seat in the house, though, any things you're hearing about Zach Martin? It's not like he's going to play. Flu bug going around. Did you guys traveling yesterday with flu on that plane?
It's well, I mean, I would hope not, but I mean, it sounds like it if he's dealing with a little bit of a bug, which Cowboys did send out a note saying that he's dealing with an illness, but that he will play today. And so, I mean, this is something that's been going on for it feels like a month. They've all kind of just been passing it around, and I mean, that feels like it's been going on around DFW for a month. And so, it's just the reality of being in close quarters with guys is, it's that classroom effect. Whenever there's a bug, then the whole classroom ends up getting it slowly but surely. I think that's sort of the same thing we're dealing with here. So a little bit of a bug, but he'll be out there today. It doesn't sound like we're getting any Tyler Smith today. It'll likely be TJ Bass, and so they're already down on one guard. So I mean, having a 6 Zach Martin is not the best thing in the world, but he'll play like a champ, I'm sure.
No question about it, he will. Are you with Broaddus on, hey, Cowboys, you really need to win this game if you feel like you have any chance at making a Super Bowl run? Like this Cowboys team, everybody loves home field advantage, but it seems like this Cowboys team is uniquely dependent on playing at home.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? It's 16 straight victories at home. They haven't lost there this year. They've generally dominated teams out there. So, yeah, I mean, you want it just from the fact of, you get a chance to play a couple of home games. That's a big deal. But then the other aspect of that is you get somebody to take care of San Francisco for you, potentially, or you don't have to see San Francisco until the NFC title game. So, I think this is a big game for them, and I think they understand how big of a game it is. We talked about it earlier this week on 105.3 The Fan that, I was doing the Cowboys crosstalk with Nate Newton, and he mentioned a game in 1991 that they played against the Packers where they were so much better than the Packers. and Jimmy had given them the line that, hey, you know, what I want to see is minimize mistakes. Don't have dumb penalties. Don't have turnovers. I don't care if we leave here with a 1-point victory. If you guys don't make mistakes, you will leave here with a victory because you're better than them. You are just better than them in every facet. And so let's keep our head down and just get out of here with a victory, take care of business. And that was sort of the thing that Nate was arguing for today is that, look, you're better than Washington. Don't have any stupid penalties. Don't have any bad turnovers. Just, you know, head down, limit mistakes, play boring football if you have to, and leave here with a victory because, you know, they got criticized by the broadcast team in that 1991 game of just, the Cowboys look flat. They don't look very good, but they left there with a 3-point victory, and that's all they cared about. That's what they wanted to do, and they did it. And I think that's the same sort of thought process here for the Cowboys is, look, just don't shoot yourselves in the foot. It is right there on a platter for you. Take this game, get back home, play these 2 home playoff games, and ultimately set yourself up for an NFC title game appearance.
Bobby, somebody other than CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott is going to have a big game. Who will that be?
That's a good question. I'd like to see a Jake Ferguson bounce back. The last few weeks, teams have started to take away that seam throw a little bit. I'd like to see the Cowboys get back on that. So that would be a big thing, I think, if you can get Jake Ferguson returning. Obviously, Brandon Cooks and what he's able to do to stretch the field. This would be a good game, I think, to get the run game back on track. They've had 3 straight games with fewer than 100 yards rushing. That's the first time they've done that 3 consecutive games in a season since 2013, so it's been a decade. They really, I think, need to try their best to get the running game back on track. Jerry talked about it this week when we asked him about, hey, you know, this is the run game a concerning area for you? And he said, yeah. And he's like, now I have faith that we can get things turned around. We can do what we got to do. But is it an area of concern? It absolutely is. And so this is a good chance to get things right in that realm, I think.
Bobby Butt with us here on the Cowboys pregame show on 105.3 The Fan. Is that your biggest concern when it comes to the Cowboys? Like, if you could snap your fingers and improve any area of the team, would it be offensively being able to run the football, or is it something else, the run defense? I don't know.
I mean, if I could snap my fingers and make things, you know, an A-plus area of the team, it'd be the offensive line just in general. I think if you got good pass protection, Dak is able to do what he wants to do, and I think if the run blocking's straight, then all of a sudden it'll be, wow, Tony Pollard looks like he has more burst. He looks so much better now, because I think a lot of what you get in the run game is what's blocked up for you. So, yeah, I mean, I think in general, the run game is a big concern for them right now on both sides of the field. Getting the run game going for themselves and stopping the run on the other side, those have been areas of concern for them all year. But I mean, you know, they've also in recent weeks shown, you know, even when the defense has played well, they've had an inability to get the big stop late like they need. Teams have been able to, when push comes to shove, move the ball down the field against them. And so that's an area of concern. But I think if you just say you can give me the offensive line playing at a high level, I think this team becomes really, really difficult to beat.
Yeah, Bobby, you know, we had Babe Laufenberg on before you, and he was just he didn't have anything great to say about the Commanders, and rightfully so. They're not a very good football team right now. But what is there anything that concerns you that they do? That metrics will tell you they don't want to run the football, but they have backs that are capable of running the football. Do you worry about Ron Rivera just going for every 4th down and going for every 2-point play, or what's your concerns?
Boy, they had a good plan for Deron Bland last time. They picked on him in a big way, and I know he had the pick 6 in that game, and so ultimately it burned them. But they got anything and everything that they wanted against Deron Bland last time. So, you know, my biggest concern is, I know the run defense has been bad, but if Eric Bieniemy comes out here with a game plan that just says, hey, we're going to volume throw it and we're going to attack these corners the way that we felt we could last time, then, yeah, you put yourself in a position where you're going to have to kind of keep up a little bit in a game where you may be saying, hey, we'd like to just get out of here with a W, especially given that this has been a little bit of a house of horrors the last 2-3 years for Dak Prescott. Dak has not played well here the last 2 times that he played. I think last year he was like 14 of 37. I mean, it was the worst game we'd ever seen him play. So I think that this is if Dak Prescott continues to have a little bit of bad mojo here at FedEx Field like he has the last couple of times, and the Commanders come out here with a real plan to attack the secondary the way they did in Dallas and the way that they took advantage of Deron Bland, unlike any team that had this year, then yeah, that would be something that would concern me. But I mean, ultimately, I think that we all recognize Dallas is a pretty good football team, and the Commanders are a really bad football team. Dallas is playing for the number 2 seed. Washington is playing for the number 2 pick. They're in very different circumstances. If you play your game, you should beat them. But yeah, if you're going to say, hey, what's an area, a niche area where this could go sideways and we could get an any given Sunday type of game, it would be, Dallas just not able to pass the ball like they've struggled the last couple times they've come here, and Eric Bieniemy really taking advantage of Dallas's secondary.
You get a little touristy out there?
No, not really. Not this trip. Last trip I did. This one I kind of stayed inside, took in some football, caught up on some rest. I got to say, everybody else who views this as a trip where it's like, oh, I get to go out and, we're on the road. We get to see different parts of the city. I treat it like a man who has 3 children that are all in school right now, Eric, and I say this is a good chance to catch up on some sleep that I've missed. And so I typically go to bed earlier on the road than I do anywhere else and get a good 10, 11 hours sleep. It's wonderful.
You need it because you get the quick turnaround early morning. You probably average about 10 hours total per week of sleep. So
exactly.
you need that one good night there. So kudos to you, Bob. We love you. We miss you. Bring home a victory and maybe sneak us. Do you think, Bob, you could sneak us one of the official hat and T-shirts of the number 1 in the division NFC East champions?
Oh, that'd be wonderful if I could. As long as it doesn't get me in trouble, Eric, then I will.
Go talk to Bucky Buchanan. He'll take care of you. Tell him Broaddus needs one.
Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah,
I'll say, hey, BB needs one.
There you go.
There it is, man. You know people, Bob. Bring it home, man. I look forward to seeing that tomorrow. Love you.
There we go. I love you all.
There he goes, our Cowboy insider, Bobby Belt, live from FedEx Field. Let's get you a little playoff outlook. We'll preview some more of this matchup. We got some score updates that you're definitely not going to want to miss. And Zach Martin. Let's hear from Zach Martin, the one redeeming quality of FedEx Field. That's next right here on The Fan.
Bell. reward or a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We're under 2 hours to kick off Cowboys Commanders here on your official Cowboy pregame show on 105.3 The Fan. We'll hear from Zach Martin in just a moment. He revealed the one redeeming quality about FedEx Field. I know. I was surprised as well. Didn't think there was one. It's at least one more than I thought there was going to be. But Zach Martin here in just a moment. But, man, these playoff games, some teams obviously have so much on the line. Some not really. Maybe you're playing for pride. And that's what the Titans are doing. The Titans are doing it, and it helps that the NFL has basically made this entire week, it's all divisional games. So there's a little bit of bad blood there, whatever. There's some rivalry stuff, at least in some of these matchups. And you remember last year, Detroit going to Lambeau Field and ending Aaron Rodgers' not only season but tenure as the Packers quarterback when they had the chance to go to the playoffs. And that's kind of what you have. Similar deal. Like, I think Dan Campbell, sort of synonymous with other coaches in the league, it would be Mike Vrabel. Like, they're sort of on that same playing field of former player, meathead football lovers, and they can inspire their guys to go win even though it doesn't really matter for them. And the Titans right now are up with nothing on the line other than playing spoiler to their division foe, Jacksonville. They're up 28-13 right now. Your guy, Doug Peterson. You said in the halftime text, right? You told him, hey, here's some adjustments you need to make.
Yeah, I told Doug, I'm like, get your head out of your rear. You need to find a way to win this one.
I know, so it was weird on the sidelines. Yeah. I was like, how is he coaching the game with his headset where his head is so far up his rear end here? It was kind of impressive, but it's not working for his team.
No, it's not working at all right now. So
a lot more limber than I thought, though.
Man, I mean, that is a strange team in the way that they have so much talent.
They've sucked this year. They've underachieved in a huge way.
In a huge way.
It was the first time in forever Jacksonville's had anything in the way of expectations. Yeah. It was the same with Detroit.
Yeah.
It's two teams sort of on the rise, okay, and then who's going to handle expectations? Detroit's done it beautifully well. And unfortunately, Jacksonville, man, they have not.
Have not.
Not at all.
Yeah. And Saints are hanging in there against Atlanta. They're up 24-17 with 13:01 left in the third. That's important for them. You never know what's going to happen. Carolina, man, Carolina's just one big play away from taking the lead in this.
I know.
Tampa
I'm not
just
feeling good.
If you're Tampa, you just have to be sick right now. That you just
can't put them away.
Can't put them away, and they're up 6-0 right now in the third.
And the Bucks up 6-0 as you just mentioned versus Carolina. Me and Wolchuk have the Bucks in G-Bag Survivor, so we got a lot riding on it. But the Buccaneers, and they got fortunate in this game because there was a big Carolina play for a touchdown that the
Winfield
guy fumbled as fumbled it into the end zone.
Yeah, DJ
and
Shark.
So it became a touchback Buccaneer football. That's a 7-point swing right there. And the Bucks, halfway through the third quarter, only have a total of 6 points. You're right. I mean, you're one Panther big play away. And that's the thing about the Panthers. They have had, say what you want about them, not a good football team this year. But their defense has been pretty respectable.
Their defense has been respectable. Absolutely.
And now Baker Mayfield and company are going to try and eke that one out with the playoffs and the division on the line. So this is fun. You'll see. I'm curious what happens with Green Bay here in a couple hours with the Bears going into Lambeau Field and Jordan Love and this Packer team that has played pretty well. I mean, Jordan Love, it looks like they found themselves quite the quarterback there. Offensively, you can buy into what Green Bay's got going on, but defensively, not so much. Can Justin Fields and the Bears play a little bit of spoiler there? That's going to be interesting. And then, of course, we'll see what happens with the Eagles playing the Giants. But, yeah, this Jacksonville game, I think, is the one that's standing out the most right now with something on the line for Jacksonville, and they're down 15 in the third quarter to the Titans. So we'll keep you posted there. But here is Zach Martin on with us in the G-Bag Nation earlier in the week. And we asked him, is there one single thing about FedEx Field that you can appreciate?
I'm hoping, man. I will say this, they don't have the hot showers, but I will say Washington, their stall situation is elite. They've got about 12 stalls in that visiting locker room. So there's no wait line before the game. You're good to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one single. We have found the one single redeeming quality of FedEx Field, and it's just simply, Zach, the quantity
of the stalls. Yes. There's a lot of them. Sometimes you go on the road and there's like 2 stalls, and it's not good pregame.
Oh, man. How about that?
Yeah. I forgot about how many. He's absolutely right. There's places you go and they don't have. It's like there's dudes are lined up waiting. You have people circling in the area waiting to go to the men's room there.
Yeah, pregame pipe cleaning. Everybody understands that. But these aren't just people. These aren't just dudes. These are 300-pounders.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of big dudes going through that. Yeah,
tapping in and out of the stall there.
Exactly.
So kudos to FedEx Field for that, man. I mean, you really can't have enough of these, and that's what Steve Ballmer and the Clippers are doing, taking a page sort of out of FedEx Field's book there, the only page you would want to take out of FedEx Field's book.
Yeah,
really not even a full page, more of just an anecdotal piece of a page. And apply it to your arena with the Clippers, which is apparently going to lead the world in bathrooms per capita. It's just going to be ridiculous.
Need bathrooms.
You got to have those.
Yep.
So shout out to Zach Martin for revealing that for us. Now let's go ahead and have Broaddus reveal to us what we're going to be dealing with when it comes to the officiating crew today.
Yeah, today you're going to draw Sean Smith's crew. Sean has not officiated a Cowboy game this year. Him and his crew are the sixth most when it comes to penalties called this season. So they're a team that
they like to throw it around.
They like to throw it around a little bit here. They are a little bit on they kind of penalize home teams more than the visitors. 100 penalties called for the homes, 89 for the aways for them this season. Their number one penalties have been false starts. That's kind of taken care of, so we'll pass on that one. Offensive holding, they're at 25. That's 17 for the home and 8 for the aways. Unnecessary roughness. This is a big number for an officiating crew. They got 24 of these calls. It's 12 and 12. So be careful around piles. Be careful around taking shots at guys. Be careful, like, after the whistle blows. This crew, Sean Smith's crew, will call an unnecessary roughness penalty on both sides. Defensive pass interference at 22. That's 10 for the home, 13 for the aways. Delay a game is something we always focus on, especially for the Cowboys, because we've talked about communication doesn't always appear to be at its best. 8 delay a game penalties for Sean Smith's crew. So they're not going to let you play to where the clock is 0-0-0. You need to be ready for it to be just, if it gets to 0-0, then you're going to probably get a call against you. Something I do want to focus on is that it's an interesting one that teams sometimes deal with, and sometimes officials don't call it. This crew seems to call it because they have a couple that they've called, and both of these have been against the home team. It's taunting. So Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders, be careful. If you're pointing your finger, wagging your finger, anything to show up an opponent, this crew has a history of calling taunting penalties.
Well, okay, you talk about the wagging the finger. What about the sniffing of the finger? Like
no, I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good on that.
Okay.
I think you just have to be careful if it's directed towards an opponent. You need to be aware. So this crew has called, and checking a lot of these officials, taunting is not a big call, but this crew has 2 of those. So don't do anything that will draw the officials' attention to you, especially if you're going after an opponent that way.
All right, it's the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Miller time, and it's also time to pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Okay, Broaddus, I asked Bobby this earlier. If you could snap your fingers and improve one area of the football team, what would it be? Would it be the ability to run the football at a much better level than what they've been able to do? Is it stopping the run? Is it something else? Heading into the playoffs, you get to fix one thing about this Cowboys team.
How about penalties?
There you go. That's absolutely on the list of reasons why you think their season's going to end before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And right there, somewhere on that list pretty quickly, you get to they're going to bleep themselves with penalties.
Yeah. Something is going to happen. They're going to get a defensive holding penalty. They're going to line up off sides. They're going to rough the punter. They're going to go low on the quarterback. just limit the number of penalties you get in a game. And that's why we go over the referees every week. But, if you told me the Cowboys could play just penalty-free football, and on third down, get off the field, no illegal contact, stuff like that, man, I'd be all for that. But if you could fix one area, I would love for them to have the ability to run the football better. I really, really would. I'd love to them to be able to have more balance that way.
What do you think their issue is there as you evaluate each and every one of these games? I mean, is it just the offensive line not getting pushed? Is there a lack of creativity with the concepts? What's the deal?
I think creativity is something they work on every week. I don't think they block particularly well at the point of attack with their tight ends. I don't think that there's at times they've been able to get when they're really bad running the football, the center's not very good. That usually when you have a center, that center has to have the ability to, what we say, cut the defense in half and, able to kind of get in, get that second level block or get that down guy secured. There's a lot of, when you look at Tony Pollard, he is contacted at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage a lot. And there's really not any type of space. Where on the flip side of that, Dallas's run defense, when contact is initiated, we talked about that. What, like 2 yards, 3 yards right there on that? So, yeah, they need to figure that out.
Okay, now when it comes to, speaking to the offensive line a little bit, Cowboys bring back La'el Collins this week.
Yeah.
What's the expectation for him? I mean, he's spent the past 12-plus months trying to get himself right physically. And everybody that saw him roaming around the Star was pretty impressed with how he looked physically. He did say that this is the best that my body has felt in a long time. I really feel like this is the reset button, and it's going to help me prolong my career. What's your expectation here for La'el Collins?
Yeah, I think the expectations for him would be to get in shape, to come in here and get in shape. Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, I'm sorry. I just I'm seeing in real time Zach Martin inactive, dealing with the illness. We heard about the illness.
Yeah.
He was expected to play reportedly over the course of,
must
the
have
entire time
happened
we've been
overnight.
on the air.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing over the last few moments here, looks like Zach Martin is going to be inactive due to that illness. That's a huge freaking bummer. Now we're starting to figure out what's the deal. If TJ Bass is playing left guard in place of Tyler Smith,
you can move Adoga. I would think about, because Adoga can play guard.
So Bass then go to right guard,
and then Adoga play left guard. I'm going to reach out to some folks, right now.
Get this thing figured out. Yeah, just saw that. That's a huge bummer. I mean, that's definitely a bummer. Now, it's still no excuse. The Commanders got a ton of injuries. We're not even sure if how mentally there a lot of these guys are going to be with their season in the books and so much change that is inevitable there with the coaching staff and everything else. So,
but it's funny. Bass has worked at
left guard all week.
All week, yeah, all week long. So maybe Adoga's the one that flips over. I mean, like I say, we're going to try and get to the bottom of this here real quick.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a huge blow, huge bummer. Trying to figure out, scrambling here. You're already dealing with a backup guard starting. Now you're going to have both of them. The Commanders, like I said, though, they've got a ton of injuries, and they've got a lot of guys out. And one of those guys is Jonathan Allen, who directly affects the guard play. So it's not like you have two backup guards today going up against Jonathan Allen, who is one of the premier interior defensive linemen in all of football. But I guess Daron Payne, I mean, that's still a monster.
Very formidable thing you have to deal with there. So, yeah.
Okay. Just an extra sprinkle of adversity here for the Cowboys entering their final game of the season with so much on the line, hats and T-shirts, trying to go win a division here in Washington. And this is one of those games where, hey, you're just trying to survive in advance. And it's about 1 point. It doesn't matter. We're not looking for style points in any way. Just get out of here as healthy as you possibly can and get out of here with a victory in hand. And so no Zach Martin, we're finding out in real time. He will be inactive due to an illness. La'el Collins will not be playing. I was teeing you up for some La'el Collins conversation there. He's not playing no matter what. But quickly, what's the expectation for him?
For La'el Collins?
Yeah,
exactly. I think with La'el Collins, it's going to be try and get in shape and work at a couple different spots. They worked him at guard. They worked him at tackle. I think he's a right tackle only. but that gives you the flexibility to kind of do some things if you want to move Steele around if something happens to Tyron Smith. So I think Lyle would work at both spots. I know initially he talked about playing him at tackle, but then he got some work the other day at guard. So there was some thoughts that Lyle couldn't bend well enough. Well, maybe they feel a little bit better about some of the things bending that they saw in the workout and going forward here.
All right. Hour and 20 minutes to kick off. No Zach Martin for the Cowboys. Who else is inactive for the boys today? Let's get the best in the business live from FedEx Field. Christy Scales, she joins us next right here on The Fan.
Hi, I'm Frank Volleman, owner of Volleman's Family Farm.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Just over an hour to kick off. That means it is time to get the scoop with Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales here on the official pregame show of America's Team. Let's go live to FedEx Field and welcome in Christy. Christy, happy game day. How are you?
Happy game day, Eric. Happy game day, Brian. Well, I was doing better until the surprise of about 15 minutes ago when we learned Zach Martin was going to be inactive. Knew he was battling an illness today. But, you know, when we first got here to the stadium, I was told that they thought that he probably would be playing. But Zach Martin inactive, so without your 9-time Pro Bowl now, right guard Zach Martin, and then Tyler Smith, who didn't practice during the week. I know that Mike McCarthy had said that there was still a chance he may play, but no, we pretty much knew that he wasn't going to play because of that plantar fascia injury to his left foot last week. So you're without both of your guards, and it's going to be interesting because TJ Bass, who filled in for Tyler Smith last week and took the work at left guard this week, you would assume that he would probably stay at left guard, even though most of the work he had gotten during the regular season was at right guard for Zach Martin. I know that the little bits of practice that media gets to see, that TJ Bass was working left guard, and at right guard you would think, Chuma Edoga, but Chuma's been battling a toe injury, so it was Brock Hoffman who got a lot of work at right guard in practice this week. So we're not at the point, guys, where the offensive linemen, the only players right now going through the warm-ups in uniform are the specialists. So watching the kickers try their long field goals right now. We want to talk about the wind and the conditions in just a moment. Now that can affect the kicking game today. But when the linemen come out, we'll see how they line up. But I wouldn't be surprised if they keep TJ Bass at left guard in place of Tyler Smith, since he had gotten the work this week in practice. And at right guard, did Edoga get enough work that he would start, or would we see more of Brock Hoffman? And by the way, Tyler Broaddus, the starting center, missed some practice time this week due to illness. So it is definitely a lot of moving parts along the Cowboys O-line.
Yeah, Scoop, I reached out while we were at break. It looks like Hoffman's going to be your right guard today. So
Edoga really has not practiced that much the last several weeks, and that was even with the situations in front of him, and even with Tyron Smith at left tackle. So Edoga's the veteran guy, so you would think, they'll put him in there, but you just got to keep in mind that it's time on task and practice, and we know that's so important along the O-line, communication and working together. And, that's the one thing going into this game, a point of emphasis. Mike McCarthy talked about it, and all the guys on offense, Tony Pollard, Zach Martin, all talked this week about getting the running game going and some momentum going into the offseason. Talked about how the combo blocks and how Ron Rivera taking over the defense, and how with the linebackers it's a challenge against this Commanders defense with the combo blocks, and you're not going to get to work on that today with your veteran guys for some consistency going into offseason due to the illness to Zach Martin, and then of course the foot injury to Tyler Smith.
Christy Scales with us here on The Fan. Well, I guess this is, it doesn't help you today at all, but in regards to the offensive line, you bring in La'el Collins this week. Me and Broaddus were just discussing La'el Collins. What do you think is the expectation for him and the plan, and what did you see from him this week up close? Everybody was pretty impressed with how he looked physically.
Yeah, I just had a nice visit with him, nice long visit. He's here on the trip, and so just sitting on the bench talking with him. He's just so glad to be back. Of course, he still made Dallas his off-season home, so he's glad to be back home. But I just kind of laugh because remember when he had been released in the cost-cutting move?
Yes.
The Cowboys were still paying a lot of money. If you look, La'el Collins was the 6th highest cap hit on the Cowboys salary cap this year. So they were paying money in his cap. The only 5 players had a bigger cap hit on the 2023 cap than Lyle Collins, and that's Dak Prescott, DeMarcus Lawrence, Zach Martin, Tony Pollard, and Stephon Gilmore. So Lyle, before coming back and signing to be on the practice squad, where he'll get $20,000, $600 a week for every week that he's on the practice squad, he was counting $8.168 million against the cap this year as the prorated part, and he wasn't even on the 53-man roster. But I think it's great. It's the same thing with Damian Wilson, the linebacker, the former Cowboy that they brought back. Just some, it's a matter of them getting into game shape and ready, but to have proven veterans, guys that know the system and played with so many of the teammates, if they're able to come back and contribute in the postseason, that's a great thing. But you're right, it has to do with being in playing shape. And, you can work out and do all of that. And Lyle talks about how good his body feels because he hasn't taken any hits. Well, it's one thing to, feel good and to look like you're in good shape, but to be ready for football shape. We'll see if they can get in, be ready for the playoffs. But it's nice to have the veteran status and that kind of experience if they need to call upon him.
Scoop, we play on a grass surface there, and we're playing with some sun, it sounds like, or some mix of sun and clouds. How overall do you rate your trip for this time of year to Landover, Maryland?
Clean living, Brian, a result of clean living that we're in the 40s.
Going to the right church? You're going to the right church, huh?
No precipitation. Here's the thing, though, the wind. It's about 14 miles an hour, and the gusts are over 25 miles an hour.
Okay.
As we're watching the specialists go through here, it's not just that the flags atop the uprights are moving. All the uprights are moving. The flags on the top of the stadium, they are blowing hard. So this could be a game. It'll be interesting with the coin toss. If the Cowboys win the coin toss, you know how the last few times they've taken the ball, and get a lead and, get the offense out there. I wonder if this time, if they might want to play, because wind could be a factor. The other thing is the grass field. It is in excellent condition. I was talking with Cannon Matthews, the Cowboys assistant defensive backs coach, and he was watching his guys go through their early warm-ups. I said, is it any issues with the footing? He says, I was here in Washington 3 years, and this is the best condition this grass field has been in this late in the season. So right now it's in good condition. They do have about half the players, talking with Bucky Buchanan, the equipment manager, about half of the guys will be in the 7-stud cleats, and about half will probably be in the molded shoes, but that's one of the things that they're using these pregame warm-ups for, is decide if they're going to need the cleats, because they expect that as we get later, it'll be sunset, it'll be 5 o'clock, so by the end of the first quarter it's going to be dark and that moisture may come up, and they think that the field might get slick as the game goes on.
Scoop, you mentioned the wind. Is it a crosswind or is it directly going along up the field? How is that? If you, on the radio dial, I know you're an old radio veteran, which way is the best way to kick field goals or throw the football?
Less of a crosswind. You want to kick left to right along your radio dial.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The flags atop the one end are pointing one way, and down here closer to the field level above the at the top of the uprights, they're pointing the other way.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think that what you want to do is you want to try and line drive some of these kicks, because if they get too high, it may start blowing back at you.
Christy Scales with us here on The Fan. Well, hey, yeah, that's not too bad. It could be worse. Talk about living right. You made it out of Buffalo without getting snowed on as well.
Yeah, they're showing Red Zone and all these different games here in the stadium on the big screen, and so whenever they show New England and that all the snow, I think they're just about ready to do snow angels on the field up in New England. So we're all looking at each other saying, oh. And of course, the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game that was here yesterday, just about, 40 minutes down the road, and just it was awful yesterday. So we're just lucky that we don't have the precipitation, and that so far the grass field looks like it's holding up well.
All right, so headline news, of course, is Zach Martin being inactive due to an illness. Anything else we need to know about who's in, who's out?
Yeah, just that the good news is that Jonathan Hankins, the defensive tackle, returning from the ankle injury, he's good to go. And then Malik Hooker, he had missed some practice time with the ankle injury, and he'll play. And they feel confident enough that he can get through the game. That Sheldrick Redwine, who they had actually promoted from the practice squad, they elevated him and then actually named him inactive. So that's kind of a surprise that you would elevate a guy on Saturday and then have him inactive on Sunday. But I think it was just with some of the other moving parts and the thought that Malik is well enough that hopefully he can get through the entire game. And Redwine was going to help a lot on special teams as well. So the other inactives besides Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, Sheldrick Redwine are Junior Fahoko, the rookie defensive end, cornerbacks Eric Scott and Noah Igbenogany, and then, of course, Trey Lance is your emergency third quarterback.
Beautiful. All right, Christy. Well, we always appreciate the time. Anything else before we let you go?
No, sounds good. Just try and keep all my notes from blowing from Landover into the National Mall. So it's pretty windy. And if you're asking if there are any redeeming qualities of FedEx Field, that it's mostly Cowboys fans. It's usually it's about 2/3 Cowboys fans. So far, I think today's going to be more like 80% Cowboy fans. And then the other redeeming quality is the end of the fourth quarter and you're done and you can go home. That's about the only two good things about FedEx Field.
You're the best, Christy. Thank you so much for the insights. We'll catch up with you next hour.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, brought to you by Papa John's. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Man, getting Hankins back is good.
Yes.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
But my goodness, no Tyler Smith, no Zach Martin, two backup guards. Looks like it's going to be TJ Bass on the left side where he's practiced all week.
It is.
And it'll be Brock Hoffman on the right side taking over for Zach Martin. And in the middle there, you have a Tyler Biadasz who has dealt with some sicknesses earlier this week. So that is just what you want to hear with the division on the line, home playoff games on the line. And you can't help, Broaddus, at least for me, get some of those Arizona flashbacks.
Yeah.
You go into Arizona without your offensive line, and all of a sudden your offense looks just like it's something you don't want to watch.
Arizona, much better defense at the time, and Arizona's offense. I mean, Arizona had a really good plan for how to play you with all the pin and pulls and I mean, and I don't know, like you say,
how does this change your game plan? You got your game script. Here's what we want to do. Now all of a sudden we got to go.
This is what you worry about.
Boots and waggles.
This is what you worry about with McCarthy. This is what you worry about with McCarthy. You're in a situation where you're sitting there, and what happens when McCarthy deals with weather or he deals with injury? It's like the game plan is not.
Everything shrinks. Everything's conservative.
Exactly. Like, we can't.
The playbook is now like half of itself.
Yeah, we can't afford to do this and we can't afford to do that. I just hope that Mike doesn't go into this game thinking that way. That like, okay, well, I've got 45 plays ready to go. I feel really good about.
And our passing game's going to go. We're 1.5 seconds out of Dak's hand, 2 yards at a time, and we'll try to avoid mistakes and sacks.
See, I just worry about. I don't think McCarthy handles these sudden changes all that well. You know what I'm saying? And the Cowboys have had this happen a couple different times this year. Where all of a sudden it's like it's
late scratch,
game day scratch. Guy gets sick, and they've struggled a little bit with this. They really have.
Well, how about the importance getting Jonathan Hankins back? Were you expecting that?
Yeah.
Oh, you were okay.
Yeah. The only one that I was worried about was Tyler Smith, but this Zach Martin thing must have happened overnight. For him not to be able to play because
he's sick. He must be. He's probably making good use of those 12 bathrooms, 12 stalls. The accommodations at FedEx Field. It might be if you had to power rank all of the road cities and road stadiums to be sick in, this is probably the one you want to be sick in, man.
Yeah, there you go.
So a little silver lining there. Silver lining as we're an hour from kickoff and we're trying to go get a division victory. That's what we need right now. All right, we continue to take you up to kickoff on a Cowboy game day, the final one of the regular season. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy. We'll hear from Jerry Jones, and we'll try and put the pieces together for this offense and put a game plan together for victory. All coming up next right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Go behind.
Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, Eric Chiofalo, and Bryan Broaddus. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
Also brought to you by
Bell Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Here we go, under 60 minutes to kick off the final regular season kickoff of the 2023 season for these Dallas Cowboys. Welcome in to the official pregame party right here on the Dallas Cowboys radio network. Bryan Broaddus, you are a Super Bowl champion, and we're going to need some Super Bowl champion insight here as we preview this matchup, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Things have been moving very, very quickly here over the last 30 minutes or so. No Zach Martin. We knew there was going to be no Tyler Smith dealing with the plantar fascia, but we have Zach Martin, a late scratch due to an illness. So he's under the weather. He won't play. You're dealing with backup guards. How does that change the game plan for the Cowboys?
Well, you very fortunate in this game. I feel like the strength of the Commander defense is really in the middle when you start to talk about Daron Payne and then Jonathan Allen. And Jonathan Allen will be out with a knee injury. He is on that inactive list. Daron Payne is the guy now that you have to worry about. John Ridgeway, the former draft pick from the Dallas Cowboys, who the Commanders claimed off waivers, is part of that rotation. Mathis, the other defensive tackle, is involved as well. So, yeah, it can the three inside, can Bass, can they figure out, Biotish, can they figure out how to handle Daron Payne? That is going to be Hoffman. How are they going to handle Daron Payne in this game? And so I'm sure that that will be the focal point. And if they're able to do that, then I feel like they can move the ball. But the things I always worry about is when Mike McCarthy deals with weather or lineup change, it seems to be a more conservative route that he goes with the game plan. So I think you have to attack the secondary, but I don't think he could just completely go into the shell on this plan because he's lost both of these guards. They're good enough to beat this Commander defense, and they can move the football, but I just hope the coach doesn't go into a shell calling this game.
Couldn't agree more. Do you expect to see more moving of the pocket, maybe changing the opportunity for Dak to have pressure in his face?
Yeah, I think that the way they do it's going to be about protection up front because they did a great job with route combinations the last time they played the Commanders. They really messed with, and these are with the Commanders with some of their starters. Last time they met on Thanksgiving and really messed with them. I think that with the young guys that are going to play to this afternoon for the Commanders, I could see the Cowboys doing the same thing. But I do worry about, though, Mike maybe going into a little bit of a shell. I hope he stays in attack mode. That'd be nice if he trusts his inside guys to do that.
Yeah, I mean, because you mentioned it, Thanksgiving Day, it was a lot of eating turkeys out of the red kettle.
Yeah,
it was just touchdowns galore.
Right.
Ferguson was heavily involved, and now since then you've seen Brandon Cooks really come alive. So hopefully the passing attack with this Washington secondary being extremely vulnerable, you can still attack that. That would be huge. Inside the Numbers here, brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. I mean, the number for today is just 1. We need a 1-point victory.
Yeah.
And we're looking for first place in the division.
Yeah.
And ancillary to that, Dak Prescott's looking to become, number 1, the first Cowboys quarterback to be the sole leader of total touchdown passes in an NFL season. So the number today is 1. Go get that victory. Survive in advance. That is all we are asking for here. Let's lock in this NFC East first place division title, and then we'll have some playoff games at AT&T Stadium. That is the plan. Let's hear the plan from Mike McCarthy. Brad Sham, today's Coach's Corner, standing by with the Cowboys head coach, Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Cowboys football.
his coach's corner. Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
Fellas, thanks. Before the regular season finale with Coach Mike McCarthy, this is kind of a neither fish nor fowl day, depending on where your team is. And I'd like to know first, when you're where your team is, playing a team where their team is that harder, easier? How do you factor that?
I don't put a whole lot of thought into what they're thinking. Personally, I think it's such a long year. Our focus is, in the messaging is always the same as, we're going to play and do whatever we need to do to win. But it's just about growing, in opportunities, and this is another great opportunity. It's a division game. There's always going to be, the element of, fisticuffs and physicality that go with these division games, and we clearly understand what we're playing for, and that's frankly all we need to worry about, because it's going to be different for them. It's how they line up. So we really don't put any really thought into it. It's just more really try to focus on who's playing and where they're playing, how do we think they're going to play, and because it's still football. It'll always be football, and I think the league mesmerizes people to think that you're supposed to play to the odds, and I think it's just a bad mindset to have when you're in the competitive arena.
Yeah, for a coach, certainly the league loves it, but
league love.
You said, I think on Monday, I was really struck by you said the most important statistic to you this week was good health.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you can marry that with being cautious with your personnel, considering that the stakes go up next week.
Well, my approach has always been, when it comes down to the 48, 49 in our case, I'm playing to win, period. And that's kind of the line there. Now, we'll do whatever we can, the best we can, and always keep the health of our players at the forefront, because our players have done a great job doing the extra. They're there all the time. They're working the modalities away from work, and so there's been such an investment in we've been pretty healthy over the long haul. Obviously we had some big injuries that unfortunately you always have in this league, but it's you want to go into this tournament of playoff football as healthy as you can, and that's to me more in your prep. The game's the game. We got to go out and play to win.
But you've been in this situation often enough. There, if you have a lead of some comfort, I don't know what that is to a coach, but and you're in the second half of the game, some of your thoughts must turn to who can I get out of harm's way here and still win the game.
Well, the good thing is, assistant coaches are always, thinking in regards to their players. Then, ultimately, I have to make the decision. So, we're all conscious of it. Everybody understands the situation that we're in. So, so that goes without being said. But, that's a conversation that would never happen before the fourth quarter, because we all know what this league is. This league is it's built for come from behind victories, and it's all part of the drama and the changes, and it's a wide open football game compared to years past.
The approach to coaching, a lot of coaches like only positive coaching stresses. Don't fumble, say hold on to the ball. Okay, but as a coach, for me, I would want to make sure my guys remembered how easy Philly was supposed to beat the Cardinals last week, and that didn't happen, and that's why you're in this position. How do you handle that?
Yeah, we talked about it just briefly, pretty much so, but the only thing I addressed in the team meeting was, we only need to go to last year's tape, as far back as last year's tape. We don't really need any more comparables at all, and there wasn't anything talked about in that light, unless it was two individuals talking to it off the side. But from a team perspective, we are all about Washington. What they bring to the table, how we're going to compete against them, what we're going to do to win the game, and I purposely try to keep it that tight. Now, obviously, we have to answer these unbelievable questions that you guys spend.
It's our job.
Yeah, exactly. And so we answer them and do the best we can there. But the mindset and the messaging, in the football space is just all about Washington.
Last one for me. This whole question of winning on the road is somewhat amusing because to me it takes on a life of its own. For instance, so there are some games where the atmosphere is overwhelming. The Miami game, I didn't think that had anything to do with the road myself. How do you address that with your players to make sure that it doesn't start growing legs in their heads?
Well, that's part of the challenge of being a Dallas Cowboy. You can be number one in the league in offense, but if you're rushing attacks ranked, 13th, you're going to hear about it. It's a big, major issue. So I think that's just part of the, it's part of the climate of our industry. And so I just know, I can just tell you, I don't spend much time on. I don't even spend time addressing the narratives because, it's kind of it's a given. It's just what we deal with week in and week out. So. Yeah, it's like I said, I don't want to be redundant here, Brad. It's all about, winning this game, and we know what this game holds for us, and we have a lot to play for today, and our men realize that.
All right, have fun. Good luck.
It's great seeing you, Brad.
Good seeing you too, Mike. Fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. Thank you, head coach Mike McCarthy. That's today's Coach's Corner. Under 40 minutes to the final kickoff of the regular season. Cowboys and Commanders. We continue to get you set for kickoff. We'll get to know the enemy, and we'll go into the owner's box live at FedEx Field with Jerry Jones. All next, Dallas Cowboys football. We'll continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new Drive Up.
DallasCowboys.com.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Just over 30 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Commanders, the final game of the regular season for these Cowboys. The division is on the line. You win, and you are first place. You're NFC East divisional champs, and you're hosting a playoff game at AT&T Stadium next week. That's what's on the line, and Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is now standing by with Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter, as we go into the owner's box. Take it away, Christy.
Well, thanks, guys. And Jerry, your right hand okay? You've been signing about 1,000 autographs so far.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of Cowboy fans out here, and we're proud of every one of them. And we've got a little chilly day here in the nation's capital. But I told those guys in there, just remember Nate Newton's famous words, give them some capital punishment. That's what we're here to do.
Nate played guard, and we may need him back today. It's our understanding that both Zach Martin and Tyler Smith, the two starting guards, are inactive today. So we get to see some young guys, but I also know that the run game was a point of emphasis and something that you wanted to see some improvement on this week. So how do you balance the fact that you have some changes on the offensive line, and yet you're trying to work on specific things going into postseason?
You hang on. And we got some good guys, young guys, that our coaches are pretty proud of. They're going to see a lot of action today and be a good opportunity for them. My personal opinion is we'll do well. Obviously, we should look at the protection there with Dak, make sure that we've got him thinking of proper adjustments. If we're talking drop back, then if we're doing a good job of holding them out, we're good. If we're not, we'll roll him out.
I want to talk to you specifically about a couple of young guys because 7 Pro Bowl players named this week, and 2 of them are first-time Pro Bowlers. And, of course, that's cornerback Deron Bland and your kicker Brandon Aubrey. And as general manager, is that one of the really fun things that you relish working so closely with player personnel, that some of these, what would be unknown guys to fans, casual fans, and yet they're the ones that step up and can play a Pro Bowl caliber season?
Well, the facts are you have to have them. As you know, most teams in the NFL pay almost 75% of their money to 12 players. 75% of all money goes to an average of about 12 players on each team. Well, you got 53 plus 20-something on a practice squad, plus your injured reserve. You have to have young players come through. You have to have them at this day and time. You have to have them on the field. They have to be out there contributing, and that's what is rewarding, is when you see a couple of, like the guys you mentioned, get out and contribute.
As for Deron and Brandon specifically, could you have even imagined, or when they came to you and said, we have this soccer player from the other pro league, could you have even imagined that what kind of season Brandon Aubrey would have?
Well, I know this, since we were having trouble making extra points a year before. He stepped into a place that the expectations weren't out of this world. And so he got to come in on his own time, his own pace, and really has had spectacular year period with any manager, much less being the first year in the NFL, with any player, I mean.
One last question for you. We know that they won't play today, but you brought back a couple of former Cowboys to the practice squad, and Damian Wilson at linebacker and La'el Collins at offensive line. I know La'el, such a locker room favorite, and so glad to have him back. But what is the plan for them moving forward, and is it realistic that they would be able to be ready physically and in game shape to contribute in the postseason?
If today, if we weren't going to have Martin, I'd love to have had La'el out here today. This isn't foreign to him at all, what we do. And certainly the coordinating and playing with the players. Most of these guys were his teammates, to some manner of speaking. So it's going to be good to have him. We won't have him today. And, of course, we need help at linebacker, and that's going to serve us good there with Wilson.
We appreciate the visit. Thanks so much. Happy New Year. And as the sign says, held up by the fans behind us, Cowboys run the East. So we'll find out in 3.5
Well,
hours.
this could be a magical thing, and I don't know when I've been any more nervous.
Oh, cause you're nervous just because Washington playing spoiler?
Well, no, just winning the ball game. And I don't know when we've had a more important game. to win, and we've got a lot of things to do well out here today to get it won. And we came up here and beat a team that won the Super Bowl. We're the only team to beat them right here, and won it simply by throwing the ball, not taking any chances with the ball, and punting. So when another team wants to hold you down, wants to play conservative, just to do the right thing really to win the game, you've got a game on your hands. It can happen.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jerry. That's the view from the owner's box as we continue countdown to kickoff. Let's rejoin Eric and Brian.
Today's view from the owner's box brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. And now we get to know the enemy, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. And, really all you need to know about the enemy today, it's Washington. Their season is all but over, and everyone is seemingly losing their jobs.
Yeah. No,
so there you go.
No, this is as tough as it gets. But, I can understand why Jerry's nervous about, now you've lost a couple of your offensive linemen for this game. It's you don't know how the young guys are going to play. The coordinator, head coach has a history of kind of going in the shell a little bit with offensive play calls when things, maybe weather or injuries happen. So I'm not trying to scare anybody here, but I can understand why the owner's nervous right now about this game.
All right, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
This is the exclusive home of Dallas Cowboys football. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas, Fort Worth. Let's go, Cowboys.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
All right, let's get you to kick off as quickly as possible. Here we'll go inside the booth with Brad Sham. We'll get Christie's keys to the game, get you set for kickoff. All coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Cowboys football.
All right, let's get you set for kickoff with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, as we go inside the booth, brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Brad Sham, congratulations on another regular season in the books, 4 quarters away from the playoffs. Jerry's saying this is as nervous as he's ever been before a game. You have the makeshift offensive line. How does that change things for the Cowboys today?
Well, I don't know if it's really as nervous as he's ever been before a game, but I do understand, as Brian said a minute ago, I understand why he's nervous. And that'll be an interesting question because they've sworn, you heard Mike McCarthy, we're here, this is win. We just want to win. We're about winning, beating Washington and win. But the last time he was missing a couple of offensive linemen in Phoenix, he admitted that he called plays differently.
Yes.
And so I don't know how they're going to resolve that discrepancy, and I really just think we're just going to have to find out together, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Brad, he sounded like he was trying to be really like, okay, this, that, the other, and you were asking really good questions. The biggest question I have is, are you going to alter your game plan, which we've seen you do before?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that when I recorded that conversation with them earlier this morning, they had not announced that Zach Martin was even questionable. Then a couple hours later, they sent an email that said he was ill, and then then he's inactive. So I think we'll know that pretty quickly. It's an important game for them to win, and it'll be really interesting to see what they think they can get done with Brock Hoffman at right guard and T.J. Bass at left guard.
Appreciate the time, Brad. Enjoy the game.
Okay.
There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. Now we go on to the field at FedEx Field, and we get Christy Scales' keys to the game, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, defensively, what are some of the keys defensively for the Cowboys to get that victory today?
Well, they're going to be watching for the screen pass, and Robinson and Gibson, a 1-2 punch at running back there. They're both good out of the backfield, good on screens. They've combined for over 75 receptions, so that's something that the defense knows to be watching for. And, of course, the defensive coaches for the Cowboys expect Sam Howell and the Washington passing game to target Terry McLaurin, their top receiver, early and often, because McLaurin needs only 54 yards to reach 1,000 for the season. That would be 4 consecutive seasons for McLaurin to do so. And so they know that the Washington coaching staff and that McLaurin's offensive teammates want to see McLaurin get that early in the game or as quickly as possible. And then defensively for the Cowboys, they need to improve on third down. They need to get off the field. That didn't happen as much as they wanted it to in December. And so third down defense is a point of emphasis today for the Cowboys.
Christy, the wind could be a problem in the kicking game?
I think it's going to be an adventure with the kicking game today, especially the punts. I mean, just watching some of them the knuckleballs in pregame, and Cavante Turpin, looking like one of these characters on a video game, just trying to get underneath the ball to field it. And be interesting to see if on the opening coin toss, if the Cowboys, if they win it, if they decide to take it or defer so that they can make sure that they have the wind in the fourth quarter. But it's about 15 miles an hour, gusting up to 30 miles an hour. So we don't have any precipitation, but the wind will be a factor.
Awesome. Appreciate the insight as always, Christy. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, as we get you set for kickoff here on the official pregame show of America's team. Cowboys and Commanders, the final regular season game. And, man, the wind might be affecting the perfection of Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah.
So that could be a little disappointing. But I got the Cowboys winning 20-10. What say you?
I went 28-13 Dallas.
28-13 Dallas. That was before you knew Zach Martin was going to be out,
That's
though.
before I knew everything. I've been on a couple of platforms. I want to be real consistent about that. Try and keep the same score.
All right. Thank you, Bryan Broaddus. Brad, Babe, and Christy got you the rest of the way. That'll do it for the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Kickoff is around the corner. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
You can trust your car.